So everyone can already do everything. If you want to write a book, for example, the question is not how to do it, but really how to keep doing it. Writing a book is sitting down and writing words on a piece of paper and simply telling a story, which people do every single day. Writing a book is a very straightforward process. However, less than 1% of people ever publish a book, only because they don't keep going to it. Many people start writing a book and never finish it, never publish it. It's less than a fraction of 1% that ever publish a book. It's crazy. The same goes for a relationship. In the beginning, a relationship seems crystal clear, seems very simple. It's fantastical in the beginning. It's magical, whatever. But the question is, can the relationship stand the test of time? So I want to be talking about some ways to think about time, some ways to think about persistence, and some reasons to keep going. When you do any endeavor, whether it's writing a book, making music, making a painting, doing a job, being in a relationship, it's going to ebb and flow. I think we see the ebbs, the valleys as reasons to stop. If you're on a workout journey and maybe you skip the gym once, you give in to an urge, or maybe you're in a relationship and some thoughts start to come in your head that you're not free, you had more life to live. Maybe if you're working on a project like a book and things don't make sense, you can't see how the book will end. What will this character do? How will I have time to write every day? This is all a part of the roller coaster of the endeavor. It's supposed to happen. And I know that's not rocket science, that's not some high IQ shit, but every human needs to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And that leads me into my next point. I'll talk about writing as an example because that's what I'm doing right now. That's the longest endeavor that I'm after besides working out. But Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club, which a lot of people are familiar with the movie, he's actually a very prolific writer. He says, you have to write about some unresolved aspect of your life using as much of a metaphor as you can. It's the therapeutic processing that brings you back to working on it. And if nothing else, you exhaust your emotional reaction to whatever it was. The issue magically disappears in your life. The story has to serve you first, or it won't serve anybody else. So I used relationships as an example earlier, but more specifically to a creative endeavor or a job or a business, or maybe you want to fight MMA, whatever it may be, these things where you have to compound your actions. It has to serve you first or it's not going to serve anybody else. And when I'm writing my book, I always forget that. He goes on to say, I don't expect it to get published, so it's easy to put stuff in the book. It's got to offend me first because I don't expect it to reach anyone. He was talking about, someone said, wow, your books are really offensive. What does that mean about you? Well, he says, I get offended first. That's just an aside, but the first thing is, if you want to do something for a long time, it's got to serve you before it can serve anyone else. The next thing is a quote from The Myth of Sisyphus, really classic book. I think there's such beauty in doing something when there's no reason to do it. I was at work yesterday, and there's this guy that walks down the main road. He's obviously homeless, but he's always carrying something. He's always carrying a heavy box, and it looks extremely difficult. What could he be carrying? Sorry, I just had to collect my emotions. Had a genuine mental breakdown because I can't handle being interrupted while I'm making something. Gonna have to examine that for myself. Anyhow, that's my problem. I gotta start making videos somewhere else because this is a subtle aside, but since you guys are watching the video, I think I can handle my emotions pretty well. But if I get interrupted while I'm trying to create something, everything goes out the window. I think that really tests me. And maybe that's because I feel very vulnerable. It really makes me want to go into the middle of the Antarctic because the idea is fleeting. You have the idea for a second and then it's gone. And it's so solitary. You can't just direct an idea back. And wow, That's so embarrassing. Holy shit. Let me try to get back into the groove of this shit. This is pretty authentic. Anyways, the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. That's what Camus said. You see, I'm writing this book, and I don't know if anyone will ever read it. I try not to talk about it too much. I made videos about it. But I know talking about it can give you the sense that you've already done it. It can give you this sort of social approval when you talk about it. Hey, bro, I'm writing a book. They might say, oh, cool. You don't want that to be the reason why you're doing it. Then you go on talking about it and you exhaust the real root, the real gift that is writing a book. So I never bring it up unless someone asks me. And that's a line that you draw because if someone asks you, cool, you never need to lie. I was at the doctor's office. She was like, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm in college for business, but I want to write books. And everyone says the same thing every time. Well, you can write books on the side. And I'm like, that's true. Never is that going to be the goal, though, just quite frankly. And it's kind of paradoxical to what the point of this video is, because the main point I'm making is it needs to serve you. It needs to resolve something in you, as Paulinik says. But like Camus says in The Myth of Sisyphus, the struggle toward the height itself is enough to fill a man's heart. It's not knowing that I love about writing a book. It's such a tumultuous, I don't really know how to pronounce that. It's such a tall task that I just can't help but be thrilled the entire time. And it's such a long process. That's what I love about the beauty of it. There's these other art forms like making music, which are much quicker. Making videos, very quick. And I think it's important to have short-term creative outputs and long-term ones. The short-term ones for me are getting and making these videos. The long-term is writing a book, or maybe one day make an album. But the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. And it's constantly in the pursuit of revealing some unresolved part of me. At least the art is always that. The art is always a fight against reality. To make a drawing, there's some part of the artist that they couldn't handle in that moment. Something had to come out of them. And then the same way a book, it's a very personal thing, even if it's extremely metaphorical and indirect. Chuck Palahniuk, this guy who wrote Fight Club, he's very outward about what he ends up resolving in these books. And Fight Club, I can't remember the thing he was trying to uncover, but whatever you're going after, it's for you. And that being said, I would like to add, I think Charles Bukowski has such a beautiful outlook on it. I love the act of finding something and then being reduced to ashes by it. Those are his words. He says, if you find something you like, it's your duty to be reduced to ashes by it. He says, find what you love and let it kill you. Someone else actually said that, but that's how I found that quote. And I think about these actors. I think about Heath Ledger or Christian Bale. These guys who give up so much for one movie role that that is it for me. That's what I want to do. I want to do something like that. And if you're doing it for that reason, if you're doing it to give yourself up to it, I would like to say that there's a high probability you're going to get something out of it. But it can't be the reason you do it, because you could get disappointed. Everyone has something that they would do regardless of any payout. And actually, it's usually the payout that kills that artist's creativity. Hemingway talked about this a lot, Ernest Hemingway. He says the worst thing that ever happens to writers is that they get paid. Funny, isn't it? Because every writer is chasing the ability to make a living doing what they love. But it is that achievement that actually kills all of their writing. How insane. So, I have no idea if this made any sense, but I would say if you're trying to continue something, do it for how hilarious it is that you're still continuing. If there's no reason to continue, what could happen if you just continue forever? It's so hilarious. If you want to be a professional NASCAR racer and you're nowhere near it and it's so far away and you may never reach it, genuinely, but you still have your entire life to try, why wouldn't you fucking do it? See what happens. It's hilarious, and everything hilarious has truth in it. So go for it. Bye-bye.